Well, congratulations on the film, Sam. It brings a real sort of freshness to rom-coms, I think. Is this the first time that you've played the proverbial romantic lead and been in a rom-com?
It's definitely the first time I've been in a rom-com, isn't it? I've been the romantic lead. I was Mr. Darcy in Pride, Prejudice and Zombies, the cult classic. But I've never done rom-coms. I've turned down a lot of rom-coms because I don't know whether it's because I'm just not very good at reading them. But I find most of them very painful to read. I'm not particularly a huge fan of the genre. I think probably my favorite is Groundhog Day, which might not even be a rom-com, probably, but but my grandfather, my grandfather, who's no longer with us, was always wondered why I never did more amusing fare. He, you know, why I'm generally playing depressed types. He could never really understand. Maybe I'm just opening the door now to a comedy, a slapstick career. That would be nice.
Did the fact that this film is mainly improvised and you didn't have a script sort of actually help overcome your concerns about rom-coms?
Maybe I thought I could control it in some way. But I realized you can't control Haley Bennett, which is the problem. You wouldn't want to try.
Can I ask why that is?
Well, because, no, I mean, I only mean that half teasing. I've just worked with Haley again. We've done the story of Widow Clicquot, Veuve Clicquot, the champagne.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Veuve meant widow, but I play her champagne smuggling lover, so can't have been that bad.
So, how did you come to write the film's title song? Was that actually part of the improvisation process as well?
He asked me during, Jamie Adams, the director, asked me during the quarantine period, because we shot the film in 6 days and I spent 10 days in quarantine in Cornwall with him. And he sort of sprung it on me there. Oh, by the way, it would be great if Idris had a song, because he's a DJ, but has aspirations of still having a music career that doesn't involve just remixing his one hit from 15 years ago. So I wrote it during the 10 days, half wrote it, and then Marika Hackman, who also plays in the movie at the end, she finished it. I've done that before. I did a movie with Ben Wheatley called Happy New Year, Colin Burstead, which is a great, and he did the same thing. He sort of said, I want you to write a song for your mother at the end of it, and he didn't want to hear it until I played it for the camera in front of everybody who was there. It's terrifying, Freda, to do something like that. I was a musician in another life, but it's a different thing. It's like improvisation is singing a song, because it's your own thing. You know, it's not a script. You can't hide behind a moustache or a costume. It's your own idea. So, I mean, that was really what I got most out of this job when I went home, the feeling that that shooting anything with a script in future would seem a lot easier than it had in the past.
Even though you have to remember your lines.
Yeah, even though you have to remember your lines.
You mentioned Haley, your co-star, earlier on, and you've got a second co-star as well, which is Marisa. And I wondered how you went about building up those on-screen relationships with both of them. And by the way, how did you keep your face straight when you were working with Marisa? Because she's so funny.
They must have cut a lot of it out, really, because Marisa and I got on really, really well. She's a wonderful actress, but she's also a very she's hilarious. So it was very difficult, and we kept thinking it was going more comical. There are some very funny scenes. You know, there's hours and hours of stuff that isn't there as well at the end, because the camera was rolling for 6 or 7 hours a day on this, which, as you know, is pretty unusual by film standards. So it was very difficult.
I was going to ask if there's going to be a director's cut, but with that much footage, I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think anyone wants to see that necessarily, apart from us.
The shown at the London Film Festival, were you there when it was screened?
I was. I mean, I didn't think, I mean, it's difficult to think about it now, but I mean, we all went through it, this COVID time. It was shot during COVID. We were all just happy to be working. We were still quite unsure as to what was going to happen afterwards. And I think, you know, in the year when people started going back to the cinema, I never thought this would see the light of day, to be honest. So I was thrilled that it had an evening at the London Film Festival. And I brought my mum and dad as well. So we were all there.
And how did the audience respond to it?
They responded very well. It was a great night. You know, I think it's an unusual film. It's a bit experimental. It's not a typical rom-com. It's got some drama in it. And, you know, in the way Jamie's put it together, it's a really, yeah, it's an unusual piece, I think. But everyone, you know, they laughed in the right places.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
Talking about your character Idris, because this was improvised, presumably what we see on screen is very much down to you. So I wondered how much there was of you in Idris.
I hope I'm not quite as much of an idiot as he is, but I'm sure plenty of people would probably tell you we are quite similar in that way as well. I mean, in terms of, you know, he's got a wonderful girlfriend, you know, and I think I think I saw it as how my career, my own life may have gone. You know, I was a musician as well. Jamie Adams, the director, booked my band back in the early 2000s in Cardiff when he was at university there and I was a musician. So Loverboy is actually the name of one of my band's old songs, which is the name he gives my sort of DJ alter ego. Okay. And I suppose had we been successful and I hadn't met my wife during my first film and, you know, I'd sort of wandered from the path even further than I did, then we would have been quite similar. But I mean, I suppose the responses to what people are saying are similar to mine.
Well,
it's
Sam, definitely
confession.
Sam. Definitely Sam, not Idris. Thank you very much indeed. It's been lovely to meet you.
Thanks, Freda.